All right, check the mic after dark. We just watched the Baltimore Ravens get the win over the Cincinnati Bengals, 35-34. Not without controversy, of course. I hate talking about this every time, Sam. I hate talking about the refs. Just saw this thrilling game. We saw the Bengals try to go for two for the win. They fail on the 2-point conversion. Fail in air quotes. But incredible game, back and forth, especially in the second half. Ravens get the win to move to 7-3. Bengals fall to 4-6, and they're running out of time to get their season back on track.
Yeah, I mean, they did fail on the 2-point conversion. However, there were at least one probably that should have been thrown on that play, neither of which came out. And that wasn't even the first time that the refs missed a fairly blatant penalty, particularly on Joe Burrow, who got smacked in the face twice late in the game, neither one of which was called by the officials. It is crazy. We've done this before, the Sam Darnold Vikings game. It is utter lunacy and ridiculousness and a farce that New York is not able to call down and create a foul where a foul does not exist, where the officials have not seen it. Like, otherwise, what is the point in a room full of people?
Some of the other, like pass interference. Remember the year pass interference was reviewable? That was kind of a train wreck when they did that, right? I mean, because you're already working with these different standards. Like, we knew that this is the officiating crew, by the way, that throws the most flags. Like, that stat was flying around all week. This is the most flag heavy officiating crew. Pass interference, I think, is a tough one, right? Because it's a little subjective, and some crews are better than, and then you slow the play down, and everything can look like PI. But a face mask is pretty straightforward, Sam. Like, a face mask is like, did your hand touch the face mask? And years ago, they remember, for our young listeners that are still awake, used to be 5 yards and 15 yards, and they said, forget the subjectivity to that, right? Let's just make it all 15 yards. A hand touching a face mask is pretty easy to just see and review, and we're talking game-winning drives back-to-back, or 2 out of 3 weeks now, where they just straight missed it.
Even more so because it doesn't, like, okay, in if it's on a receiver or a running back, you need to grab and like forcibly pull the face mask, right? When you're talking about a quarterback in the pocket, if you simply hit the guy's helmet, it's a penalty. It doesn't, like, we can debate whether it's a face mask penalty or a roughing the passer penalty, but it's clearly a penalty of some description, right? Like, it's obviously a call that needs to be made. And when the officials miss it, it's utterly absurd that the process currently exists, that nobody can fix that. Like, New York is there. They're ready. They're on standby. There's a bunch of people with monitors. They're all waiting. And unless the officials have already thrown a flag on something, they can't get involved. That is just an idiotic process.
They're like Paulie and Goodfellas. He's like, my hands are tied. I got to let you go. Uh-oh, I just did jazz hands. I got to let you go. I can't do it. And so they're sitting there. They're like, oh, missed another one. That's unfortunate.
Right.
Game over.
Yeah, they're all just, there's a room full of people in New York watching this happen go, well, they blew that one. Oh, well, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah,
I guess we're going to take crap again this week.
It's going to show up poorly in their post-game report. That's unfortunate.
Right. If only there was a way of fixing this.
And again, I hate that we just spent this much time talking about it, because the game was incredible. Cincinnati controlled it early on. They got up 21-7. The Ravens barely even had the ball in the first half. And then when they did have the ball, they were unstoppable again. Game flow wise, everything was in Cincinnati's favor early on. Baltimore kept getting into second and long, third and long, couldn't come out of it. And then Lamar kind of just took over, man. Look, both quarterbacks, they weren't perfect. They both got away with key interceptions. Burrow threw one in the red zone. That was Brandon Stevens, just couldn't get his left foot in bounds. So we had the same foot hit for again in a primetime game. And then Lamar threw what could have been a really disastrous interception to Cam Taylor-Britt that slipped through his hands. Other than that, though, incredible back and forth offensive performance for both teams.
Yeah, both quarterbacks were fantastic outside of the bullet that each of them dodged, which could have been game-changing in both situations, right? Like Burrow throwing a bad red zone interception that doesn't end up being an interception, and they scored a few plays later. And Lamar, as you said, late in the game, when Cincinnati had just sort of really answered back, throws another terrible one. And again, they don't come up with that. So both quarterbacks dodged a bullet, but outside of that, each one of them was fantastic. There was a comment there by Lucrative in the chat who said that this trend of going for two is dumb. That was absolutely the right call to go for two. And I mean, we can debate the Tampa Bay one in a lower scoring game and blah, blah, blah. This was a shootout. Absolutely go for two in this situation. Like, sometimes the right call is still going to end up wrong, right? We're talking about moving percentage points in your direction, not getting it 100% of the time. Like, the 2-point play is still going to be barely above 50-50. But in a game like this, where both teams are scoring at will, both offenses are having success, you have momentum, you just put up the touchdown, 100% back yourself to get the 2 points.
Yeah, and we talked about underdogs, right? The Bengals are 5.5-point underdogs. They're clearly not as good as the Ravens. Play for play, right? I mean, they easily could be 2-0 against the Ravens this year. They missed a field goal in overtime in the first matchup. How do I stop this? They missed the overtime. They lost in overtime the first time, but like, yes, you have one play to win it, and it's the Insta 360. Insta-link.
Steve has exactly the same camera as I have. He just has not learned the hand gestures that you can't make lest
How do I offset
react
it?
to you.
How do I offset it?
It's jazz hands again. Give it the jazz hands.
I've been doing it. Everybody's been watching me do this. There we go. We're back. We're back and locked in here. I also have the controls over here. We got this. If you call it a 50-50 proposition on the 2-point conversion, it's also a 50-50 proposition in overtime, and then that skews to the better team. It's it's 53-47 or 52, so it's just giving you a better chance. And they should have had one play from the one, to go there. We saw tonight Jamar Chase break records. He goes 11 catches for 264. I think who put the tweet out there? That was the most yards ever against one team in a season now.
Yeah, Josh Dubow, I think, had that one.
Josh Dubow, because he always has the best tweets. So Jamar Chase has that, crushing the Ravens this year. First one was about
193 in the first game. He's averaged 228.5 yards against the Ravens this year. And it's not like the Ravens are seeing him for the first time. Remember one of the first games he played against him, he went off for 190 something or whatever. Like, this is nuts.
First one was 67. That reminded me, that was Tyreek Hill. Like, you take a dig route and just outrun and weave through the defense. Like, you're just, hey, I'm just faster than everybody. That was unbelievable. And then a 70-yarder where he got behind the defense. That was when they just started going back and forth. Lamar had another one of the highlight reel plays of the year where he's sitting there scrambling back to like the 35-yard line and somehow outruns everybody, scrambles and is down at the one, almost turns it into a touchdown. If you missed it, you got to see it to believe it, because I call him geometric innovator, Sam. He just changes the geometry of the football field, because every other quarterback who could scramble back to the 35-yard line and then get to the one, that stuff just doesn't happen. So we saw some incredible offensive plays on both sides tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. That play was ridiculous. Like, it started off, at the 11, he backed all the way up to like the 30-something, and then it looked like he was going to take a fairly significant negative play. Like, I didn't think he was going to get around the corner, and then once he did, suddenly the sideline opens up, and he gets it all the way back to the one, almost scored the touchdown. I mean, there are athletic freak quarterbacks in the NFL, right? There's Josh Allen, there's Justin Fields, there's a few of these guys. Still, nobody is in the same vicinity as Lamar Jackson. I mean, there's a reason he's going to break Michael Vick's record for rushing yards by a quarterback. Like, he is one of one.
Yeah, it's funny because like halfway through the game, I was thinking this is an old school Lou Anarumo Bengals defense. I mean, the crowd was getting restless. The Ravens had only 7 points well into the game. He was sitting in clean pockets most of the time, but nothing was open, right? He's sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. That was what this Bengals defense used to do. It was not an incredible pass rush. They did a nice job on the back end, taking away reading pass concepts, taking away reads, and making the quarterback hold the ball. They were doing that at the beginning of the game. And then the Ravens, started making plays. They had some really good red zone plays. Lamar's first touchdown, they faked the sweep and he just dumped it out. But then you also have Tylan Wallace. You have that stat as well. Tylan Wallace with an 84-yard touchdown. A little out route or a little hitch or curl, whatever it was, and all of a sudden he's just outrunning the Bengals defense. Thought they were going to knock him out of bounds. Turns into an 84-yard touchdown. That play turned this game around for Baltimore because they got to 21-20 with that play.
It was such a weird and great game because early in the game, or like for the first chunk of it, Baltimore was just shooting themselves in the foot over and over. Like their mistakes were killing them. And Cincinnati got out to this significant lead. There goes the camera again. Cincinnati gets out to this significant lead, and then it flipped. Like suddenly the Bengals started making the mistakes, and like that Tylan Wallace play, it shouldn't have gone anywhere. And then 3 separate people missed tackles on him. And he goes the entire distance and scores a touchdown. And yeah, like they executed that huge swing, a big part of which was simply, Baltimore stopped making as many mistakes as they were making in the first half and beyond.
So Jared in the chat points out the Bengals used to be the kings of the second half adjustments. It was definitely the reverse here tonight, where they had the first half. And again, Baltimore only had the ball for 10 minutes in the first half out of the 30. I mean, it was almost nothing. And that's sometimes the game flow just works, right? The Bengals' first drive took, 6 or 7 minutes. They get into the end zone. Ravens are taking timeouts. It was, great drive, and they controlled the first half.
Yeah, I mean, that sequence. So the Tylan Wallace touchdown, but the thing that really started it was the Marlon Humphrey forced fumble. Like that, Baltimore looked like they were in trouble at that point. They were down 2 scores already. Cincinnati had the ball. Everything was looking good. The Ravens were struggling. And then the forced fumble to rip the ball out and Tylan Wallace scoring that touchdown out of nowhere, that flipped the whole game on its head. Like that swung momentum, the thing that the nerds love talking about. It really did change everything. Like suddenly the game is different. Baltimore is not struggling as much. Derrick Henry starts to become a bigger part of it. And it just didn't feel like it was getting away from them anymore.
Stella in the chat asking about Jermaine Burton. It's tied to the other story of the game, I think, for me, which was the Bengals said, we're going to play, everything's 4-down territory today. And it started very early, right? They go for it on 4th and goal from the 2, very first drive. They score a touchdown after a penalty. They got a penalty, got the first down, then got the touchdown. 4-point decision by Zach Taylor. He basically said everything's 4-down territory. But they had multiple times, 3rd and short, 4th and short, where they were just throwing it deep. Couple of them to Jermaine Burton. And look, I saw some people saying Jermaine was quitting on the routes. I don't think he was. I really think those were just misses by Burrow. But those were low percentage shots. And I know, look, the play call sometimes takes you to the unideal read. But on 3rd and 2, 4th and 2, you got to just find something open 5 or 6 yards down the field to convert, man.
The second one in particular, Jamar Chase was livid because he was wide open coming underneath that deep route that Burton was running. I don't understand it. So, generally those plays, I don't like those things. Those short, got to have it conversion plays, taking a shot, like unless the shot has basically opened up by virtue of a coverage bust, don't take that shot because it's such a low percentage play. Even if you had another down, it might not be a smart shot to take. When you've got nothing, you need to complete it. You can't be throwing like a 30% completion pass in the air when you have a better option somewhere else. And certainly in the second one, I haven't looked to see what was available in the first one, but that second one, your best receiver who ends up with 260 yards or whatever it is was open.
And I think that was Burrow, right? And look, I think that's more Burrow than the design. Very, very rarely is there going to be a 4th and 2 call where they're just like, yeah, man, if you get that ISO route, just chuck it, just see it and let it go. That's usually going to be, hey, look, everything underneath was taken away. That's where the read's taken me. So I'm probably going to blame Burrow on that until, you got to see the film. But right. Also fair question on the last play. You kind of throw it into double coverage to Mike Gesicki versus, force one to Jamar Chase. Let Jamar Chase be special. That last touchdown to put them in that position, Burrow lofts it over 2 defenders in an unbelievable throw and catch.
Right. It wasn't Gesicki, though, right? It was Hudson. Hudson, sorry. Gesicki was the guy getting mugged on the other side of the line.
That's what He had the penalty. Yeah, also I had my kids running around down here that not going to bed. And I'm like, kids, it's the 2-point conversion. What are you doing? Get to bed. It was a mess.
The pass to Chase to score for not the tying score, but the one to get them
within
for
one.
the attempt at the 2-point conversion was actually a really, really good throw and catch. Like they throw that and you're like, how? I don't understand. How are you not covering Jamar Chase at this point in the game where he's already racked up like 250 yards? It was actually really good coverage. And the ball just cleared two different Ravens defenders. Jamar Chase ends up being athletic enough and with just enough space in the end zone to be the only guy that could come down with it. Just insane execution. Initially, I was like, oh, Wiggins, that's a bad job by Wiggins. He clearly didn't get enough depth. He actually did. Like, he kind of got pretty damn close to the back end of the end zone, but just cleared them.
Yeah, that was really an incredible throw. I also think high level, just from a Bengals perspective again, and then we can touch on the Ravens if you want again, but Burrow passes the ball 56 times in this game. They had a backup left tackle, Cody Ford, playing left tackle. He got sacked 3 times. So he's dropping back like 60 times in this game. To me, this was reminiscent of when they made their first Super Bowl run, 2021, and their season was on the line in some big games against the Chiefs, against some other top teams, and they said, Joe, go get it. And he threw for like 900 yards across 2 games.
Right.
I love that. I mean, there's so much about Zach Taylor and the Bengals' strategy tonight that I loved. It's a division game. They're feeling the game on the line. They're not even the Ravens' pass defense is a weakness. They're not even going to waste their time with the run game all that much, and they're going to chuck it. And man, they put it in Burrow's hands. And overall, the decisions were incredible. He played a great game, got away with some stuff, maybe forced a couple that he shouldn't on 4th down. But I love that as an overall strategy. We're going forward on 4th down. We're going to be aggressive, and we're going to put the ball in our best players' hands, Burrow to Chase.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't perfect, but when you factor in backup backup left tackle, getting sacked a significant amount, got a really bad hit, to the ribs in that game, which was pretty late as well. That was borderline penalty in and of itself, but like he's in pain as well, right? He's got very little run game to work from. He's gotten whacked in the head twice and officials didn't call him. And at the end of all that, he still drives him down, gets the touchdown to give them a shot, and then one play. He basically comes up one play short. So, they came up short, and that's the only thing that really matters. But I think given the circumstances, Burrow was pretty spectacular.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, circumstance-wise, he was awesome. And then after the slow start, Lamar Jackson was outstanding. I mean, they're those uncoverable plays, and he makes when you run that QB sweep, and then you have the wide open touchdown in the end zone. It's like that's Lamar opening that up. That's an easy throw that he's opening up because of his running ability. He also did a great job selling it. But even beyond that, he had the jump pass, touch pass in the end zone. Some of the touch throws that he made early, he had one early on a ball to Mark Andrews. He had the one in the end zone. He had that incredible scramble. 4 or 5 times a game, he just makes these special plays in addition to, as I've been mentioning on the show recently, you're seeing a lot more just like in rhythm, rip a seam, in rhythm, hit a go ball. I feel like Lamar's rounding out his game with different ways of beating you, and I think that's, pretty scary for the league.
I mean, even the play before the touchdown to Rashad Bateman, like Bateman dropped that one the play before. Like he had another touchdown that he should have had that drive finish with, and then he had to go do it again, find the next way of finding Bateman in the end zone. So yeah, I mean, he first half was a slow start, but once he got into a groove, he was again utterly ridiculous.
What'd you guys think of the Ravens' new color rush uniforms? We poke fun at J.J. Watt because he poked fun at us before, but he said it looks a little like Crown Royal bag, little Crown Royal bag. I kind of agree with J.J. Watt on that. Looked like a Crown Royal bag.
I mean, I don't like that logo first, the sort of original logo, that shield thing. I don't think that's as good as the Raven logo. The Ravens are one of the few teams where they don't have a historical uniform. You know what I mean? So they're not a lot of these uniform combinations, like generally speaking, the new version of uniforms that have been around for years stink, right? Almost universally. And that's why all those throwbacks to like, the 90s Vikings or the original Dolphins, like they're all better because all those uniforms are better. The Ravens, though, they don't have one of those. So it's not like they're ruining a great historical uniform combination. It's fine. The all purple thing I have no problem with. The shield logo I think is not good though.
My old man take on this, I think, is teams. I think I just want to see 2 uniforms in a given season. Like, can you just have a normal uniform? Maybe you mix and match the pants, right? Have a normal uniform, have an alternate. Just have an alternate. And the Bucs should always wear creamsicle. Just go back to creamsicle.
Well, that's the thing. Like, so the real take is that all of the throwback uniforms should just be adopted again, right? Like the Seahawks original colors are way better. So you don't want to say, no, you can't wear your throwback or your alternate because that's the best uniform they have. Just go back to that. Same with the Eagles and Kelly Green. It's better than their uniform. Go back to that. So I agree with you, but only if we go back to those uniforms.
I was about to mention Oregon, as Doug says. Steve must hate watching Oregon a little. I mean, look, they're always their uniforms are fun. That was kind of their thing, though. Like Oregon made that their thing. Their thing was we're never going to wear the same uniform twice. I kind of buy that. When everybody tries to do that, I hate it. The Jags are going to. Sorry,
real quick. Had some of the best uniforms.
Who's that? Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're good at it, right? They're good at it. Like there's going to be green, black, or yellow, or white. Some combination of those colors, but you don't know what what the order is going to be with the colors, and it's kind of fun. Like the Jags are unveiling white helmets, I think this week. White helmets when they're 1-0 in their 1996 jersey. Like just stick with those. Just stick with those.
Yeah, but again, like the Jags should just go back to those uniforms. So I'm with you in terms of like let's eliminate all the changing up as long as all the teams with better alternates just go back to those as the default uniform. Oregon also has like the wings lend themselves to really cool uniforms. So they've just been really good at getting a lot of absolutely sick uniforms. If college football had a top 10 of like uniforms of all time, 8 of them are Oregon uniforms. One of them is the Colt Brennan era Hawaii uniforms. And then somebody else has got the last spot.
Yeah, something about the classics too. Penn State looking like Penn State and everything. I mean, that's all fun. I really don't have that strong. The only other real strong. I don't have strong takes on the uniforms. The ones I do detest are ones from the 20s and 30s. Like when the Packers come out. That time, remember that stretch of time they'd be coming out in like their navy and yellow, and it was like you don't even know what team this is. Like it's a throwback should give you some nostalgia, right? That's why we like them. Oh, I remember these old Seahawks and Kelly Green Eagles uniforms. There's no more nostalgia from 1920s uniforms.
Well, so the thing is that the NFL does them extremely badly, right? So all of the worst uniforms that have ever been adopted in the NFL are like old throwbacks, right? There's those Broncos ones with the stupid twisty stripes on the socks.
Yeah,
those. Remember when the Eagles wore some horrific like yellow and aqua thing that was just awful. Like all of them are like that, right? And then the Packers do these throwbacks with like they're trying to kind of evoke leather helmets, but they just have a brown helmet. I can't remember what college team did this recently, but they wore like leather helmet look-alike things that were actually like the graphic made it look like a leather helmet. That worked. Just painting a helmet brown and being like, nah, it's like a leather helmet. Trust us. Like, not in an era of HD, it isn't. Like, that just looks stupid.
That was Illinois. They put a lot of time and effort into that, Sam.
Those look good. They worked.
Anyway, this was, we kind of called it as a shootout. It turned into one. We love doing these instant reactions. I don't know when we can announce, but I think next Thursday night, we're hoping to do something extra special for Eagles Commanders, something extra special. There's nothing else you guys really need to do except subscribe to the channel, make sure that you're here. But yeah, next Thursday night, we'll do something a little extra coming out of that game. But yeah, this was a good one. It looks like we're going to have back-to-back really good Thursday night football games. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right. Well, thanks to everybody for tuning in.